Hello, Flosstube. My name is Lindsay. I live in Surrey in England with my partner Guy and my 11-year-old boy. And this is my first Flosstube video. I've been meaning to do a Flosstube video for a very long time, probably a year, and I've been putting it off and putting it off. I did try to record last week and I got through it 4 times. So it probably took me a couple of hours, and for whatever reason, my tablet decided not to save the video. So I'm trying my phone. Hopefully, the video quality will be okay and the sound quality will be okay. If not, then I will try something else. I have been cross stitching off and on for many years. I learned to stitch when I was a young teenager. My grandmother had various stitching magazines and had free kits, um, as you do. So I started doing the small kits. I came across the first one I ever did a couple of months back. I will show it at some point. It's bloody awful. My mother hates cross stitch but does embroidery, machine embroidery, and hand quilting. So crafting sort of in the family. I picked up stitching again seriously probably 2 years ago now, and haven't really put it down since. I also do embroidery, which I will show on this because somebody may be interested. I quilt, I do dressmaking, I knit, I spin, I have a spinning wheel and I spin on spindles. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I will show finishes or things that I particularly want to show off on here from other crafts, but it will mainly be cross stitching. I am not going to show all my whips today because I'm too lazy to drag them out. They are buried in my hideously untidy craft room, and I'll just show what I've got to hand. Again, I'm lazy, so I've got a pile of whips beside me which I've been too lazy to put away, so I will show those. If anybody has any questions or comments, feel free to leave them below. So I will just get on with what I'm stitching. Let's grab the first one. I'm sure you've all seen this. I mean, a couple of years ago, you just could not get away from this. It was everywhere. This is Save the Stitches by Blackwork Journey. I believe I've got that the right way around. It looks like I've done loads, but actually that's not even a third of it. Probably getting on for like a fifth of it at that point, or maybe a quarter. This piece of fabric is very large and just goes on and on and on and on. So this is stitched on 25 count something Jobelan Lugana, 25 count Lugana I believe, and it's a grey blue colour. My lighting's a bit strange, so I'm not sure how well the colour is picking up. I thought it would be a bit stark on just a white background, just for means of stitching it. Black and white can be quite harsh on your eyes, so I went for a different colour. There are 3 metallics in there. It's just gold, silver and copper. I mean, it's nothing exciting. The outlines of the blocks are stitched in size 12 pearl cotton, It's just black, and the detailing is done in one strand of black DMC. There are a couple of beads in there, but not very many. I love working on this project. It's occasionally taxing, not because it's difficult. I mean, it looks amazing, but it is just backstitch, so it's simple. The difficulty I have is the patterns are quite complex, and you have to sort of break down in your head how you're going to stitch it. Sometimes you go diagonally, sometimes you go round corners, sometimes you go back and forth or up and down, and sort of sitting looking at that specific pattern in that block and trying to work out the best way to stitch it without going from here to here to here. I find sometimes quite difficult. Some blocks are easier than others, and some blocks have more detail in them than others. But I think sometimes working out how you're going to stitch something takes longer than the actual stitching of it, or I find anyway. The next thing I have is, oh, by the way, that's a free design, so you can find it at Blackwork Journey. It's still free. It's 24 parts it comes in, which sounds like a lot and is a lot, but you can certainly still get it. This is a mystery sampler put out by Papillon Creations. You may have seen this recently. I was enabled to stitch this by Cozy Egg, who has finished this and framed it, and it's beautiful. I will say that hers is done in the silks and mine's is just done in the DMC. It's from a magazine called The Gift of Stitching, and if Cozy Egg happens to watch this, which I doubt that she will, thank you so much for introducing me to that magazine. It's amazing. It's just what I was looking for. I live in the UK, and there are multiple cross stitch magazines, but they're not to my taste usually. I do tend towards doing larger designs. I tend towards do specialty stitches. I stitch because I want a challenge, so I stitch very large projects. I stitch really complicated projects. I need something which is challenging to me, which is why I never ever have any finishes. The finish at the end does not. That's not why I stitch it. I stitch it for the process. I'm very much a process stitcher, and actually I'm a process knitter as well. But a lot of the cross stitch magazines in the UK are cutesy things which I'm not interested in, animal things which I'm not particularly interested in, small stitches which I'm not interested in. I occasionally like cross stitch gold, but still it's not quite my cup of tea. The Gift of Stitching was a digital magazine, and it's now not being published anymore or put out anymore, but you can still buy back issues. I believe there are 90 back issues, and you can buy them on Etsy. You can either buy all of them on a CD, or you can buy them individually as a PDF. If you go to Etsy and search The Gift of Stitching, then you will find it. The magazine is brilliant. In my opinion, it's just what I was looking for. There are specialty stitches, there's a lot of history articles in there, there's a lot of samplers in there, which I'm sort of getting into at the moment. The designers who feature in, just to give an example, are Long Dog Samplers, Sampler Cove, Papillon Creations, Chatelaine. And I think for the £2.80, it was under £3 that I pay for an issue, that the charts that you get are very, very good value for money. I've gotten a full Long Dog Samplers chart for £2.88, and that sells, for much more money. As I say, just large samplers, and big names if you're into that sort of thing. So back to what I was talking about. This was put out in the magazine. It's in 5 parts. It was a mystery, obviously now it's not. I don't know that it has a name, it's just a mystery sampler. I usually stitch things which are large blocks of something and not little individual motifs. So I'm not used to getting this little mini finish thing, and that really, really drove me to do this. I mean, I stitched this in 2 days, and this is part 1. And that snail guy there, he's missing his bum. But if snails have bums, he's missing the bottom. That's into the next part. That just really does it for me. He's great. There are a few specialty stitches in there. I mean, that's your satin stitch. That's double herringbone. I think there was something else in there which I can't see now. Oh, there's some Smyrna crosses or something in there. I believe that when this first came out, and this was in 2003, I won't say 2007, it was a long time ago, there was a silk pack which you could get, which is probably no longer available, and I just stitched it in the DMC. So that's part 1, almost done. I think I've got just a little bit over here to do. But this is great fun, and I will finish it quite quickly, actually, I think, as long as it doesn't go in the drawer stuff and never return. This fabric is repurposed. As you can see, it's got something on the bottom. This was a Heaven and Earth design. It was my first attempt at a Heaven and Earth design, and I do have 3 Heaven and Earth whips, which you will see as and when they come up. I started stitching it 2/110 stitch. It's a 28 count fabric, I think. And it was mini Ex Machina. Now, I hated it. Not the chart. The chart's great. I can't do this 2/110 stitch. The back is just, it's so thick. And I was doing it continental, and I couldn't figure out which way I was going, and I just thought, right, okay, I'm going to stop. I also had seen by that point somebody else's whip on probably the Heaven and Earth Facebook group, and I said, oh, is that the mini one? And they said, no, it's the full one. And actually I'm now stitching the full size one, because this little clock, this is the clock in the corner. I don't know if you know the chart or the artwork. It's by Chris Ortega. I love Chris Ortega. This clock obviously is going to be like that size on this. Now I'm stitching the large one, and the clock is 1, 2, 3. It's on 6 pages, so it's like, this big. So I just was not getting the detail. It was because it's a mini chart. It was just confetti hell, and I just couldn't cope. I'm now stitching it on, I believe, 20 count Ada 2/1, which is fine. Heaven and earth, I think most people will have discovered this. There is a sort of trial and error process as to how you're going to stitch it, and what works for you, and what kind of fabric you're going to use, how many threads you're going to use, whether you're going to park, whether you're going to do cross country, and it slightly depends on the chart. But I have found that either 18 count or 20 count Ada works for me, 2/1, and parking in columns. I may change my mind. I've not tried everything, but that is certainly working for me at the moment. This one is another free one. I do buy charts, I promise. I've got a full folder full of Mirabilias. This is another Papillon Creations, it just so happens. And this is Around the World in 80 Stitches. Some of it's beaded. So this is another 24 part. It's again free. I think you can still get it if you go to the Papillon Creations website, sign up for the newsletter, and then sign into Newsletter Corner. You can then download the pattern for this. It's beautiful. It's enormous. It's very, very intricate. The woman has put so much work into this, and with this, and with the Elizabeth Ammond, the Black Work Journey, these people are clearly better than I am, because if I had put so much work into something, I'm damn sure I wouldn't be giving it away for free. I'd be charging money for it, because, you know, I would pay for this. The hearts are part 1. And this tulip thing here, which is not finished, is half of part 2. There's another tulip that goes down below. It has hardanger in it. You can either cut or not cut. There are 2 different variations. I chose to cut, and it's messy, but I don't really mind. This here, this other white part, which is slightly pink in places because I've managed to get hair dye in it, is I'm gonna butcher this, but it's Mordvian Star Stitch. That nearly drove me nuts. Now, I don't mind specialty stitches, obviously. I quite enjoy doing specialty stitches. There's quite a few of them in here. There's, you know, ones you've never heard of, like Norwich Stitch and goodness knows what all. But these little flowery jobs there are Danish notes. But this nearly drove me nuts. It's one of these stitches that is, you do a thing and then you layer something on the top and then you layer another thing on the top. And had it been in a different colour, had it been in a finer thread, I probably would have not quite had so much difficulty with it. It's stitched in, this is a pearl cotton and it's number 12. I mean, it's not particularly thick, but when you're doing layer upon layer upon layer, it certainly builds up. And it was white on white. And it was one of these where I did 2 stitches and I had to put it down and walk away. And I did 2 stitches and I had to put it down and walk away. And I did 2 stitches and I put it down and walk away. And then, I mean, there's only 12 stitches, and then I came back, sat down and just, you know, banged the rest out. You know, it's one of these things where you think, oh God, it's just going to take me ages, and actually it takes 30 minutes, and, you know, I was just being a bit of a drama queen. It's messy. I don't like it. It's pulled in the. It is pulled thread work, so it is, you know, pulled in the wrong places. And on that side, where just above where my finger is pink, because I had hair dye. I do dye my hair. It's not naturally this colour, so I did have hair dye on my hand. But yes, I believe you can still get that for free, as with the Blackwork Journey. So I mean, do go and have a look at the websites and do check that out if you're at all interested. The articles that come with it are actually quite interesting, because the stitches come from different parts of the world, so it's interesting to me, certainly, to see the background and the history of where all of these things developed. I find that quite interesting. The next piece I have sitting by me, I think that's the last one, is no cross stitch. It is embroidery. This is driving me up the wall, actually. This is Midnight Meander by Hazel Blomkamp. If you watch Tash the Star-Crossed Stitcher, then you will already have seen some Hazel Blomkamp designs. She's doing, I can't remember the name of it, it's autumnal something. It's one of the lace, needle lace patterns out of the same book actually at the moment, but this one is called Midnight Meander. It's a heavily beaded piece. It's heavily beaded embroidery, this one. I'll get it as close as I can. It's messy, but you know, I am trying my best. I obviously need to get some more beads in here and around there. I'm currently filling in this part here, and again, it's do a little bit and put it down, because this, you put down padding with chain stitch, and then you do buttonhole, continuous buttonhole over the top, and then in between the buttonhole stitches you fill in with metallic thread. Now, there are not many colours of thread in this. There are 5 anchor cottons. There are 2 anchor marlets, which is a rayon thread. A lot of people have complained about the rayon threads. They're different to work with than the cotton, but I don't find them incredibly difficult. You just have to cut shorter lengths and sort of be careful with what you're doing it and keep an eye on it, and, you know, tame it with thread heaven, whatever. The trouble that I have with this, sort of peering over the top, the metallic that is in this is DMC metallic, and I loathe DMC metallic. I should have substituted it. I know better. Save the stitches, I'm using DMC metallic, and it is awful stuff in my opinion. You may love it. Good on you. I detest it. It drives me up the wall for several reasons. It burbles up on itself. It shreds itself when you're filling it through the fabric. More so even on embroidery, because this is stitched on silk. There's no holes in this, so I'm putting a sharp needle through, and of course there's more friction and the thread just disintegrates. So it is put in a tiny little length and then leave it, and put in a tiny little length and then leave it. I knew that I hated DMC metallic. I don't know why I went for that. I don't mind Krennic. I really like Petite Treasure braid. I understand there's a price difference, but I'd rather pay the money for the Petite Treasure braid than go through the stress of using DMC metallic thread. As a spinner, I understand why it does what it does. I understand the construction of it and why it behaves in that way, and I cannot understand why they make it in that way, because it's just, it's so hard for me to work with. The other thing I hate about it is I quite like the sound of stitching. I like the sound of thread pulling through fabric, and different threads have a different sound. Now, DMC metallic makes my skin crawl. The sound that it makes drives me up. Whoa, especially when you're pulling it through silk, because it just catches on everything and it's awful. Anyway, this is done on, I bought the pre-printed fabric from Hazel directly. If you go to her website, it's Hazel, I think it's Hazel-Blomkamp at .co.za. If you Google her name, you will find it. You can buy either full kits, bead packs, thread packs, print packs. This is the print pack, so it's screen printed on. I mean, this screen printing will never come out of this fabric. It's not going to wash out or anything. It's on there permanently, but it just gives you the lines to stitch on, obviously, because it's not a counted fabric. You need to know where to stitch. This is the book that it's taken from, so that actually on the front cover is the finished piece, and it's beautiful. I love that, and it's just, it's 3 or 4 colours. It's only grey. The instructions in this book are very, very clear. If you want to see a flip through of this book, then Tash, the Star-Crossed Stitcher, a few videos ago has a flip through of this book. This is the other one that I've got the print pack for, which is a bit more colourful. And I'll probably start this when I finished the other one. I do find that because it's embroidery rather than cross stitch, I'm slightly more critical of my work. Excuse me, my arse has gone to sleep. I also, excuse the language, I am Scottish and it sort of comes with the territory. I'm afraid I will try to keep it to a minimum because I realise that people do find it offensive, but I do swear. Anyway, yeah, I find that I'm slightly more critical of my work because there's way larger margins for error, and you don't know where you're supposed to put your needle. There's no hole, so it is about sort of being neat and really concentrating on what you're doing. I did find that, and I ripped half of that out the other day. Ugh. Ripping out cross stitching, unless it's a full coverage heaven and earth design, is actually quite easy. I know it's horrible when you have to undo what you spent time doing, but the process of getting the sorry, I've got a mirror in front of me essentially, so I'm going to keep fiddling with my hair. The process of taking the thread out of the fabric is quite easy. With embroidery, you have to cut it, and it's a pain. It's quite hard. It's quite fiddly. It can be done, I'd rather not do it, but I did cut one of those petals with the metallic thread and the buttonhole out the other day, and of course, because there's several layers of stitching as well, it took me 4 times as long to undo it as it did to actually stitch it. So that was my last piece. I don't know what else to say. I should be back at some point. I mean, I'm not going to put a time on. I'm not I'm not going to do a monthly update. I'm not going to do a weekly update. It will be as and when I've got something to show. I find as soon as I put a deadline on doing something, then I feel stressed about it and I don't do it. I don't. I do craft, knit, stitch, and give things to other people, but I don't deliberately say I'm going to make this for X date, I'm going to make this for so and so's birthday, Mother's Day, Christmas, whatever. Because as soon as I say, I need to do this and I need to do it for this date, I will absolutely avoid doing it up until the last minute, because somehow that's made it work and something that I have to do rather than something that I want to do. And I've learned that that's just, it's no good. It turns my hobby, the thing that I enjoy doing, into an obligation. And as soon as I'm obliged to do something, I don't want to do that. So I am not going to put a firm date on when I am going to do a video. I may be back tomorrow. I may be back in a month. I may never be back at all. If I get 50 thumbs down, then I will probably never be back at all. I will have a big, huge personal drama, and my boyfriend will hear my tears, but you never will. So I shall say goodbye for now. I hope you enjoyed this video. If there is anything you want to see, anything that I've mentioned that you want me to drag out, or if you do have any questions, then please do let me know. And goodbye.